Welcome back to the second part of learning how to read your natal chart. So we're going to go over the latter six houses. The last video I talked about the first six houses, and now we're talking about houses 7 through 12. So let's just get started. So the seventh house is about relationships. It's not only love relationships, it is relationships that you have one-on-one, like a partnership. Libra is the natural ruler of the seventh house, and the natural ruling planet is Venus, and Venus is the planet of I love. So she's very comfortable in the seventh house. Now, when I think of relationships, the most important relationship you will have is the relationship with yourself. So when you master the first six houses, then you're going to master the latter houses 7 through 12 when it pertains to self, because when you master those houses, then you will attract everything to you. So if you are finding that you keep attracting the same kind of mate, the same kind of person that is out of alignment for you, and you keep saying, why do I keep attracting this type of person in my life? Well, it's probably because you haven't mastered the seventh house. So Venus is that very Venusian energy. It's about pouring into yourself. It is self-love. So remember that in the seventh house, when we talk about relationships, the first relationship is with self. And that's why it's so important to read your natal chart from this aspect. So let's just move on to the eighth house. The eighth house is the house of sex and taxes, other people's money, inheritances. The natural ruling zodiac sign is Scorpio, and the natural ruling planet is Pluto. So this house is about transformation, and transformation in your life through, like when you take out a loan, it's learning how to be responsible, right? You have a transformation. It's like you get that big money, the big amount of money, and it transforms your life. Like when you take out a mortgage. So it's very transformational energy, but also Scorpio's energy is very secretive. It's very private. Scorpios really like their alone time. So when you think of a Scorpion energy, it's like when you take out a business loan or you take out a personal loan, you don't really like to share your finances with others because it's very private. It's a private issue, not an issue, but it's just a private part of your life. So when it comes to mastering that house, it is understanding that you have everything you need to understand money and how it works, and how borrowing money and these big banks, how they work in your life. Now let's just go on to the ninth house. The ninth house is about higher education, philosophy. It's also about traveling abroad. It's longer travel overseas. It's about religion. And the natural ruling zodiac sign for the ninth house is Sagittarius. And the natural ruling planet of Sagittarius is Jupiter. So when you think of the ninth house, you think of how you expand. You think of like when you learn and master something in school and higher education, it expands your earning capabilities. It expands your mind. It expands your life. The same thing when you travel. It's like when you see other places, it expands your perception because it's something that you haven't seen before. You get to learn about other cultures and how other cultures live, and their perception on life, their philosophy on life, because remember the ninth house is very philosophical. Even religion, what their beliefs are and their practices. And with the house, with the ruling planet being Jupiter, it is that very expansive energy. So it's when you master that in yourself, you feel more confident, you feel more expanded in the sense of who you are. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the 10th house. And the 10th house is the house of systems, hierarchy, your career. It's also the house of your public reputation. And the natural ruling zodiac sign is Capricorn. And so when you think of Capricorn, Capricorn's energy is a planner, having systems, and methodically moving in the world. Very business oriented mindset. And the natural ruling planet of this house is Saturn. So Saturn's energy is the father energy. It's, are you going to walk the walk, or are you going to talk the talk? And it's really about getting your affairs in order, understanding who you are in your career and how you want to be seen as your public image. And when you master the 6 houses below the horizon, you're able to find out what your values are and what makes you click, and your personality traits, and what you will and will not stand for. And then we move on to the 11th house. And the 11th house is the house of community. It's the house of social networking. It's the house of technology and friendships. It's the house of innovation and wishes coming true. The ruling zodiac sign for the 11th house is Aquarius. And the natural ruling planet for Aquarius is Uranus. And Uranus is that very innovative energy. It's about change. Sometimes we go kicking and screaming, we don't want to change, but it's through change that we evolve. So when you think of somebody that gets comfortable with technology, and then a new one comes out, and you're like, but I like this one, I don't want to learn another technology, right? It's that resistance around it. It's also like, changing your social network, or changing a community that you live in, or realizing that you don't have anything in common with the people that you have socialized with. Those are all parts of change. And although change is uncomfortable, it's what we have to do in order to evolve. So now let's go into the 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of spirituality. It's the house of secrets. It's the house of the unseen. And the natural ruling zodiac sign of the 12th house is Pisces. And the natural planet that rules Pisces is Neptune. So when you think of the 12th house, you think of going inwards and having a spiritual connection. It's also that daydreaming energy. So if you've ever been accused of being a daydreamer, it's probably because you have strong Neptune placements. The Piscean age that we moved out of is that age of illusion. That's when religion was birthed, because we were so easily to manipulate and to be put under this hypnotic spell, if you will, during the Piscean age. Pisces energy is also the house of addiction. So you have to be very careful of your Neptune energy, because you could easily be persuaded to put yourself under hypnosis through addiction. It's a form of escaping. It's also, because if you are a very imaginative person and you feel like you are not from this world, you don't click with people, you can find a way to zone out, find a way to escape the reality, and that's where addiction comes into play. So you understand all of the houses. So also in the other video, I was talking about the yin and yang energy, and yin and yang energy is it alternates. So when we go into the 7th house, it begins with yang, and then the eighth house is yin, and so on and so on. And when we started in the seventh house breaks up into the fall, because we just got out of summer. Now we're in the fall for those first 3 months, and then the latter part is winter. And so you can see where Pisces plays a big role during the winter months, because it is about introspection. It is when things start to die down. It's a transformational area, and you're getting ready for that transformation through the fall. That's when the leaves start falling, and then you have that silent rebirth, and then you get ready for the spring again. And so this wheel of life is to help us connect back to nature. And if you don't know who you are and you don't understand how connected you are to nature, you're feeling that disconnect. We're not machines. We're not supposed to live in concrete jungles. Our aura needs to be recalibrated in nature. That's why, you go outside and you ground. That's why you get sunshine. That's why you don't push yourself in the winter months, because it is a time of introspection. So when you master the first 6 houses, you're ready for the outer, the above the horizon. This is how people see you. So how people see you in relationship, how people see you with, taking loans, like buying a house or buying a car, your higher education, your belief system, your philosophies, your religion, your career, your public reputation, your friendships, your community, and that spiritual aspect of who you are. And you need to have a spiritual connection. And so because the Neptunian energy can be tough sometimes, you can escape from that. So that's why it's so important to understand that this is a process. So like I said in the first part, the houses are the where, the planets are the what. So where is it happening? So that would be what house. What is happening would be your planet, and how it's happening is the zodiac sign. And that's how you read your chart, because you're understanding what is happening. Well, let me see what planet is in that house. Where is the house? Where is it happening? Is it happening in my first house? Is it happening in my second, third, fourth? So remember that the astrological chart is a wheel. And the wheel looks like pieces of pie. And just because you don't have planets in a certain house does not mean that you aren't affected by that house, because you have all zodiac signs. Just some of them are more prominent than others. And when you understand this, you form a connection with yourself. You form a relationship with yourself. You understand why you think the way you think. And the reason why I find that this information is so important, because people who don't know you, or even your parents, they're projecting their natal chart onto you. They're projecting their perception onto you. When they don't understand why you think the way you do, or they don't understand why you want the things you want, they're not seeing that it is part of your blueprint. And so that's where the molding happens. That's where the external world says, you're not operating from A, B, and C. So I'm going to mold you into this, because you're acting like, D, E, and F. And so let me put you back into A, B, and C. But you're not. You're a snowflake. You are not supposed to be operating from somebody else's perspective. You are supposed to be connected to your essence, your soul, the part of you that nobody understands. But if you're running from yourself, and you're always trying to live up to expectation, and you're always trying to do what others expect of you and conform, then you don't even know who you are. And so that's why so many people are walking around and they don't know who they are. And so this happens to be a big theme that is happening with the Aquarian age. It is to step into learning about who you are. And it's written in the stars. You're here as temporarily learning about yourself. You're growing, you're taking the information that's been put upon you as, these characteristics of how you're going to move in the world. This is your avatar. So you're an avatar moving in the world and you're playing a video game. And so through every challenge, your avatar grows and you have more skill sets. And you move on to the next level. That's just how it works. So if you're coming from a place where you're trying to be an avatar of somebody else's making, you can understand why it's so hard for you to win the game, because you're not here to mold yourself into somebody else. And the way that we've been brainwashed is because your subconscious mind, I'm just going to get a little bit sciencey here, but your subconscious mind is wide open and your conscious mind is what can reject things. And when you're watching television or you're scrolling on social media, or you go to the movies, or you're a child playing, you're in the zone and you're just picking up, your subconscious mind is just so aware of its surroundings and it's downloading all of this information, and some of that forms a belief that you have, and that belief is that you have to look a certain way, you have to have certain things, you have to do things a certain way, otherwise you don't fit into society. And that is part of the programming. So when you connect to your true essence and you know your blueprint, then you move into becoming you, becoming authentically you. And each placement in your chart with your planets affects how you move in the world. Not everybody, you could have an Aries sitting right next to you, and you could be an Aries sun and they could be an Aries sun, but they have different planets in their house. And because they have different planets, or maybe their rising sign is different because of the time they were born, they're going to behave differently. And that's why I don't like labels. I'm in Aquarius rising, and one thing about Aquarius rising is we don't like labels. And I don't believe in giving up your power. You have to use your discernment and you have to study yourself. Everyone's so busy trying to learn something externally, but they're not connecting the dots to learn about who they are. Do you know who you are? Have you taken the time to understand yourself? And astrology is beautiful in that sense because it gives you the psychological aspect of who you are. And there are things in your chart that might give you some guidance. Now you're a free will and you can choose not to, but there are things there that no matter how you skirt around it and you go a different path, you always end up right back there. I can tell you that there's even some amazing things in your chart, and we'll go into those because like I want to keep it in step so I don't overwhelm you. But there is a symbol for, it's called vertex, and vertex means fated meetings. And once you understand that, you'll understand where, in what house you will have fated meetings. For me, I happen to have vertex fated meetings in my relationship. So I was bound to meet somebody from, it was fated. It wasn't planned, or it wasn't by introduction, sort of introduction, but there was a lot of steps along the way. Forcing yourself, like if you work with a coworker and trying to force yourself into that relationship and not understanding that why isn't it working? It's maybe because you have a fated meeting of your life partner in your relationship house. So I'm just sharing that with you because I want you to know how interesting and how intricate your natal chart is. So I'm going to leave you with this today because we went over the 7 houses. And on the next video, we're going to dive in more to explain how you can start using your chart and how you can start mastering each house, mastering the first 6 houses, so the 7th through 12th houses reflect that who you are. And that's all I'm gonna leave you with that today. And I hope to see you on the next video. If you're new here, please subscribe, hit that bell notification, and like this video. Leave me a comment if this is helpful, and leave me some questions, or there's some dying questions that you want to know, so I can include those in the next video. And I will see